Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Josie. Today I'm doing a memorial video on my daughter Cheryl Ann, who passed away in 1969 of muscular dystrophy. And if you're familiar with my channel, I do this twice a year, December 11th and then when she was born, May 30th. And I know there's a few people that wonder why I do this. I always try to keep her memory alive. I know she's in heaven. She is the one that gave me my strong faith. But let me tell you a little about her before I talk about some of the things that she even said. She was born in 1960 and was a chubby little girl. I mean, you never knew anything was wrong with her when she was born. But when she started crawling, I noticed that she didn't crawl like a normal child. She would pull one leg and then drag the other. I thought this was weird. At the time, I took her to, she was going to a pediatrician. So she was going to a specialist, and all they could tell me is just feed her more. That's this, instead of really running tests. And maybe at that time they would not have detected muscular dystrophy, because you've got to remember, years back, there wasn't the technology there is today. Anyway, as she was growing, she was very fragile. She lost that baby fat. She became very, very thin. And how they detected that, I felt always that there was something wrong with her. She and her brother, and by the way, she has a brother that was 14 months, take it back, 14 and a half months younger than her, and his name is Ronnie. And then she had a baby brother, Clint, who was, the time she passed away, he was less than a year, so he doesn't remember the whole thing. But I've kept her memory alive and talked about her all the time, so he knows all about his sister. But anyway, her and Ronnie were supposed to have a tonsillectomy, and they had a cold. And so the doctor, for taking precautions, said, I want to do a chest x-ray on both of them. Well, Ronnie was fine. But Cheryl, they detected her heart was enlarged. And if you know anything about muscular dystrophy, it affects the muscles, and your heart is a muscle. So doctor says, no, I'm not going to do, I won't remove her tonsils. So he sent us to a specialist in Portland, Oregon. And I won't go on with that story. But anyway, reason why I also like to honor her is she was a very strong, tough little girl. She had a sweet heart and was very loving, but very stubborn. But I think her toughness and her stubbornness got her through this, because the doctor who had said he wasn't going to do surgery on her because of the enlarged heart also told me she would never learn to ride her bicycle. And guess what? She did. A few months before she passed away, she learned to ride it. And the reason the bicycle story, my husband and I had promised the kids after their surgery, we would buy them a bicycle, each of them a bicycle. So even where we found out Cheryl couldn't have the surgery, we bought her a bicycle also. But I just, she made me the person I am today. I'm stubborn and strong. And the things that she said before she passed away, if any of you have a lack of faith, heaven is real. And in fact, just the stories And I don't know, in past videos, I probably have told you a little bit. And for many years, I didn't share the story. But before she passed away, and I won't go into all the detail, she talked about angels. And I remember just being in awe because I had been asleep and she woke me up because she said, "Mommy, I'm cold." And she said things that I can still remember, that feeling that I had never heard of any of those things. And I thought to myself, I'm going to remember in the morning and write them down. And when I woke up in the morning, I did not remember them other than angels. And I had this in my heart that I knew as humans are not supposed to know some of the things that she talked about that the angels told her about. And she kept asking, and I know she was asking the angels, could she still set the Christmas tree? So a little more about her, and by the way, she passed away right next to me. I had told her to come and get in bed with Mommy and Daddy, and when I woke up in the morning, she was dead. And I am very happy that she was not all by herself, that she was next to me. But someone asked me, in fact, this person that asked me was sort of a preacher. I don't think he had his, license or certificate, but he went around preaching. And he came to my house and he asked me if I was angry at God. And I looked at him and I said, why would I be angry at God? And he said, well, most people are. And I said, why? This little girl could have suffered so much. If you look up muscular dystrophy, and she was still able to walk when she died. She was very fragile, but she was still able to walk. She went to school 3 days before she passed away. She loved school. In fact, the day before, well, she had died at night, but in the morning she wanted to go to school, and her feet were so edematous, they were so swollen, I couldn't get her shoes on. And I said, Cheryl, honey, you can't go to school. But that's how much this little girl loves school. So what I told this preacher, why would I be angry at God? She could have suffered so much. And he took her before she really suffered. So don't be angry at God. We all have a time and a place when he's going to come and get us. So, like I said, I know sometimes people kind of think maybe I talk too much about my faith, but this little girl, Cheryl Ann, who was my firstborn, who I love dearly and miss and know someday I will see her again, she taught me all about the Lord Jesus. And I'm going to read a poem, or I should say a verse, it's not really a poem, that someone sent me with a sympathy card after Cheryl passed away. And it's written by Edgar Gust. To all parents, I'll lend you for a little time a child of mine, he said, for you to love the while she lives and mourn for her she's dead. It may be 6 or 7 years or 21 or 3, but will you till I call her back? Take care of her for me. She'll bring her charms to gladden you, and shall her stay be brief. You'll have her lovely memories as value for your grief. I cannot promise she will stay, since all from earth return. But there are lessons taught down there I want the child to learn. I've looked this world over in my search for teachers true, and from the thrones that crowd life lane, I have selected you. Now will you give her all your love, and not think the labor vain, nor hate me when I come to call to take her back again? I fancied that I heard her say, Dear Lord, thy will be done, for all the joy that child shall bring, the risk of grief will run. Will shelter her with tenderness, will love her while we may, and for all the happiness we've known, forever grateful stay. But shall the angel call for her much sooner than we planned? We'll brave the bitter grief that comes and try to understand. And I'm sorry, I usually end up blubbering in my video. She absolutely, when I was pregnant of Cheryl, you know, in those days we didn't have ultrasounds. So I didn't know if I was having a boy or a girl. But I always wanted a sister and never had a sister. And for some reason, I just didn't think God would send me a little girl. So my husband and I, we hadn't picked out a name. We had picked out a boy's name, but we hadn't picked out a girl's name. And so when Cheryl was born, and in those days, you know, husbands didn't go into the delivery room. It was completely different. And after I gave birth to her and I was back in my room and he came in and I said, we don't have a name. And he said, I was reading a book and it was about a boat in the waiting room, and the boat's name was Cheryl Ann. And that's how my little girl got her name, was from a boat. So I hope you understand maybe a little bit more about me, about my precious daughter. And I know grief is difficult, and we all mourn and miss people that we've lost. But I've talked to other parents too that have lost a child. There is no greater loss than your own child. You can lose a husband, you can lose parents, and yes, it hurts. But until you lost a child that you gave birth to, there's nothing in this world that can hurt you more than that. Anyway, she gave me the faith. Heaven is real. And my faith is never, actually it gets stronger day by day. So I hope, another reason I do this video is maybe it will give somebody faith and courage. Don't ever give up. That child you lost, or that loved one you lost, wouldn't want you to give up. In their honor, be strong. Go and live your life. Don't spend your time being depressed. Just live for them. They want you to live for them. And by the way, I wasn't going to say this, but I will end this video saying every year, twice a year that I do this video, I get one thumbs down. And all I can say is whoever gives me a thumbs down, I pray for your soul. You have to be a very unhappy, angry person to give a thumbs down and a memorial video. So God bless everyone, and I know that someday I will see my daughter again. There is heaven, and by the way, there is heaven and hell. So whatever your faith is, have faith, be strong, live for the Lord. Don't live for the world, live for the Lord Jesus. Bye, everyone.